Hello, welcome to our review of Gods and Angles. Not of God and Angels, but of Gods. I can't even get that right. I'm
But
going to
how many
start again
people though?
because
Yeah,
I'm going.
I'm going to make that point though, because for the first three quarters of that episode, I thought it was of gods and angels, and so did Erin, until she looked at them and went, "Hang on a minute, there are no angels in this episode."
There we are. So we got an intro. We got the first thing here. We're getting ourselves confused even while watching this. Even though I read that, I got myself tongue tied and you heard that. So anyway, I'm Ben. This is my co-host.
Olympus, it's great to be back here, and it's two of us again. We had a week where I was ill and you did the solo review, then a week when you were ill and I did a solo review. It's good that we're both back. I'm glad you're feeling better, mate.
I'm glad I'm better, feeling better. I'm glad you're feeling better as well. It's nice to have a talk again about this. Oh, and unlike when we were trying to do it last time, and I could not talk for toffee. Go in a real after about 3 words. Yeah. So anyway, what is the summary of this episode we are reviewing of Lower Decks today?
Yeah, so this week the Cerritos is tasked with facilitating the negotiations between two different energy-based species of spheres and cubes. I actually love how the spheres are orange, like oranges. Anyway, I digress. Mariner also takes a wayward ensign under her wing, while Boimler tries to get in good with Ta'ana. The usual lower decks mayhem ensues, ending with a twist worthy of Shakespeare himself. What is that twist? You'll have to watch the episode or watch this review because we'll tell you at the end.
Yeah. Or both. Go out to watch it, come back, have a listen, because spoiler alert, we are talking about it. And I thought my co host spoiled it for me when he sent over this before I actually watched it. And I saw Shakespeare at the end. Went, oh no, I've read too much. Put my iPad to the side and went, I'm expecting Shakespeare here for this, but we're not. So, yeah.
It was
So,
almost a red
anyway,
herring, wasn't it?
it was almost a red herring. So, intro had us at Vera the Flex Nebula. Well, the orbs look like tennis balls myself, but that's my
So you had test. I see why, because of the little lines that were going through them. See, I thought oranges
yeah.
because they were bright orange and spheres. I was just like oranges.
Yeah,
Orange tennis
but yeah,
balls. There you go.
why not? No, it was a very lower decks type of episode where or scenario was that, but I can also imagine it being very TOS
Yeah.
era
Yeah, it was kind of
storylines.
silly, a little bit goofy, but in a good way. Um, you have the typical Star Trek theme of or typical Star Trek thing happening, which is, we have a negotiation mission. Totally normal. With the twist that it's these funky energy beings in the shape of shapes, which is totally lower decks at its core, just totally ridiculous, and it works.
It definitely does, and they've been at war since their nebulas collided over a century ago. Yeah, sounds right. So, other than beating us 3 times, we got back to basically 2 episodes. Uh, two episodes, 2 storyline episodes. So we have the Mariner and Harrison storyline, which we'll get into in a minute, and we have the Ensign Boimler Diana story uh, line, which I think we should start off going first and doing our new routine of going down the storyline arc.
Okay, yeah. This is a different way for us doing this as well, but it just felt like a natural way to try it, didn't it? Because there's two very, very different stories that do interlink at one point for a brief moment, but generally they're very separate. So why don't we kick off then? We've got Boimler sitting in his bunk, playing around with his alternate self's pad again, and then he jumps and bangs his head as Rutherford comes and hides it under his pillow, trying to pretend like nothing's wrong, doing the whole sort of, oh yes, nothing awkward here, it's all fine, I'm not hiding anything at all. And Rutherford just goes, oh, what are you doing with the alternate version of yourself's pad there? Which at last, how many episodes has it been? And no one's mentioned it, and Rutherford's known the entire time.
It's like a lot of things. It's like people do know, they just decide not to bring it up. Um, and yeah, he was after some extra charge for the delegates, and he went, "Oh, as you're using the other pad, that pad, can I have the one from your normal one?" And yeah, it was a bit thing. What do you think of the future pads or the other world pads?
I absolutely love how um, they're that much thinner or thicker than the other. I'm pretty sure they're thinner than the other ones.
Yeah,
Not just did Rutherford point that out, but Tendi pointed it out too. And I don't understand how Boimler could just not grasp the fact that that is a very, very important detail in a pad. The thinner the better. I genuinely though thought it was absolutely hilarious that both Rutherford and then later in the episode Tendi, who also realizes and has for a while what Boimler's been up to, how they're both like, oh yeah, it's because of this really tiny, minute detail that no normal person would ever see but us. When in reality, the pad is bright red, and by the way, it also doesn't have a Starfleet Delta on the back of it, whereas I'm pretty sure the Cerritos pads all have a Starfleet Delta on the back of them. So there's that too.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think it looks quirky. I think that there's a bit of a different shape to them as well, actually, compared to the typical universe pads. But I noticed as well. I'm totally digressing now. Because earlier in the season we also get to see the Orion version of the pad, which is a completely different design again. So
of course.
yeah, it's been quite nice to see the design team being able to flex a little bit and design these different models of tablet computer in the show.
It definitely is, and almost like all the different iPads that come out over the years and
Yeah,
such like, and iPods and such like. I know iPods have gone the way of the dinosaur now, but even so,
we're
it's
showing our age with
gonna.
iPod, aren't we?
Oh, luckily I haven't gone into Walkman, so or Discman actually, but
You see,
that's
I understand Walkman. Discman is where you lose me.
oh god, Walkman's the older. Discman's a bit more when CDs got popular,
Oh, so
but
is
they weren't as
Discman
good
literally
because
the
they kept
portable
jumping.
CD player? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, cool, good.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're on. I had one of those.
Yeah, I had. Outside of this, you can keep it still. Absolutely rubbish. So, because I always found the CD always jumped, at least for me.
Oh no, me too.
Anyway,
It did. Yeah, it was not portable in the slightest. It just pretended to be.
yeah.
Anyway,
Uh,
uh,
and I want to get back onto something that Boimler said, and it's something like, "Oh, Ronald D. Moron here," and it was just like, I like the name drop of one of the, I think it's writers, producer, and probably several other things from. Uh, I'm going to call it the TNG era, but it's like Deep Space Nine,
yeah,
Voyager era
that was
of
nice.
Star Trek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that definitely was nice. That was good to hear.
Oh, definitely. Um, so we went on more into Boimler was trying to get in with Tiana because that's what his counter self was doing, trying to get
Yes.
into the book club. And
Yeah, and what I found very interesting at that point as well is that yeah, the whole negotiation thing with the orbs and the cubes is happening here and now for us. It apparently happened at some point in the past in the alternate universe. That's the first time we've seen that, I think. Um, So that is also quite interesting. That's the first difference. So it's sort of hinting at maybe a sort of time differential going on, maybe, or maybe there's some form of connection. So the information is like live feeding through to the pad somehow because of all these time potholes, maybe. But I put a big question mark over the fact that how do you have information on that when that shouldn't have happened yet, in theory?
Hmm.
But yeah, to your
So there's
point.
two options.
Hmm.
I actually love your second one that it's live feeding into the pad.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just could I have? I was just thinking much forward. I thought, oh, that's gonna happen. That just happened a little bit earlier in theirs for whatever reason. Unless this thing's happening in an order, seeing one universe first and then seeing another universe next, and such like.
Mm.
Um,
It could be. I mean, um, to your point, but Boimler has obviously throughout all of our previous episodes been trying to emulate what his alternate self was doing, so that he can get to a position where he is basically at the point that his alternate self was, because he sees him as ahead of himself, as better than himself. And yeah, he decides to try and mimic what happened in the alternate universe, get into Tiana's good books, and literally, I guess, and join her book club. Um, and that leads to the usual lower deck chaos we're used to seeing. He starts by trying to charm Tiana, um, despite Rutherford's warnings. He pisses Ta'ana off. He tries to show off one last time with his whole I want the flip nickname, and tries to do a backflip and then lands and hypos himself with about 7 different untested anesthetics, I think she said they were. You saw his
yeah.
eyes just go big and black. That was funny. And he totally failed at that point. Is there anything else you'd want to add to that sort of section that you enjoyed, or want to comment on before we move on to his second set of attempts?
Now use some to two things. One was while we're here, going there nearly had a rainbow of blood in there. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, just needed a Frankie one, and that would be it. But briefly going back to Boimler's room and Rutherford's room, did you notice in the background there was 3 models that one of them had?
Yes, I did. And I believe, if I remember back far enough in season 4, I believe they belong to Boimler. One of them's Kirk.
Yes, in
Um,
the maroon reds like
yep. I
oh
can't.
no, green, in the green, sorry,
Yeah, the
in the
green
green
one's
colour
Kirk.
shirt.
I don't know who the red one is. I can't remember. And then there's actually, is it Spock who's in the green one?
Yeah, I believe so.
And then there's one, and it's a more modern. I think it's like the uniform from Nemesis and Insurrection and First Contact. It looks like that kind of uniform, or it might be a DS9 type uniform, but I can't tell who that
Yeah,
model
I
is.
thought it was it gave me that was a rifle. It gave me an impression of Miles O'Brien, but in my head. So, but I could be wrong on that.
We'll need to take a
But
closer look.
anyway,
And hey,
yeah,
the viewers, listeners, if you have any theories on um, who those models are representing, then let us know in the comments.
please do. So, what was the second part of the Diana?
Well, we all know how much Diana loves a curse word. She moopsies more than Moopsie does. And Boimler
Very much.
decides that, he needs to speak her language. Um, just like Ta'ana does in the alternate universe with the alternate Boimler. So he decides in true Ta'ana spirit to approach her and start moopsing the moopsy out of everything, calling her every type of moopsy word under the sun. How many more moopsy times can I moopsy and say moopsy? And she, for the first time
Offended.
in 5 seasons, goes a full sentence without swearing, and you know he's in trouble. She goes feral and tries to tear him into a million pieces. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of punches in there as well. The whole sick
Well,
bay
it
just
sounds very.
hushes and stares, just, oh no.
How dare you? You got her angry now. And at this point, when you had Boimler there, some of the ones you know what they're talking about. You know the words they're using.
So, you
This
don't.
one was just bleeps. You, I got no idea what he actually said, and that's probably the idea, which was actually very good.
Yeah, because
In my
wasn't her
opinion.
first comment, what the moopsie
Whoopsie.
did you just call me? And then it was from there, it was no swearing. And he actually says at one
Yeah,
point, I think, it's like, why are you not, why is she not swearing? It's because
yeah,
you're in trouble, Boimler.
yeah,
And then, yeah, I can
yeah.
see. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was, well, it's because it jumps on from that point. Um, I was jumping from there to the point a little bit later when the stories between Boimler's and Mariners intertwine for a moment. You can see Boimler entering the scene, which is just chaos spheres attacking cubes, cubes attacking spheres, and Boimler's clearly there trying to be a hero and make up this impression that he's been creating with Ta'ana. Ta'ana's basically like moopsie off, like this is way above your pay grade. Um, and he gets struck by lightning in the ass, of all places, in the backside.
What?
I mean,
That's I. Yeah, I put a comment. It's like, did that just happen?
that just happened. I couldn't believe it either. I thought, okay, especially considering it's not like the most powerful lightning in the world either. These lightning bolts sort of form and then drop in a floppy mess to the floor. So this thing's bounced, ricocheted into his backside, and then just gone limp. What an image! Um,
Yeah, there's a joke for you there. If you hadn't
oh
couldn't come
yeah.
up with one.
Oh yeah, and we get
Um,
to see a little bit later on, don't we? Ta'ana working hard, sweating, the sweat running down her brow. Tendy's lovely green hand coming up with the little swabs to dry her brow as she's working diligently to break up that lightning bolt and remove it safely from Boimler's rear. And in doing so, actually develops a bit of respect for him. I mean, he's just enabled her to write a decent thesis, a decent article, a decent piece of medical literature that's going to take her places in her eyes. And yeah, that is how Boimler secures his place, un, not on purpose. His way. He did it his way at last in her book club. But of course, does Boimler and Rutherford realize that it's actually been done Boimler's way, and therefore you shouldn't take knowledge from alternate realities and try and emulate that?
no, they've gone completely down. Oh, because of emulate the ones we look up to. Um, which was already. Let's see where the story goes towards the end of the series
Yeah,
on
the
this
fact
one.
that Rutherford's on board now as well. Poor Tendy's just looking at them as they're leaving, kind of going, "No, what are you doing? It's going to become very chaotic very quickly." I'm scared that we're going to
Yeah.
start seeing Rutherford removing more body parts for cyborg replacements.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's I can see that, or at least being trying to happen. Yeah.
I would like to think it's not
Um.
going to, because he did seem to learn in that first episode that the alternate Rutherford had made those decisions and choices for the wrong reasons, and actually, as cool as it looked and seemed, he'd lost a hell of a lot of the humanity that our Rutherford doesn't want to lose. So I hope they don't try and revert any of that sort of realization that he brought in the first episode. But yeah, even if they don't do that, he's definitely going down the rabbit hole with Boimler now.
Yeah, definitely, and it probably needs somebody to rescue him. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um. Oh, one last question before we go on to the Mariner story.
Sure.
What kind of books do you reckon Tiana reads or has in a book club?
What a question. Um, Knowing her taste in media, I'm going to go with Western American cowboy style, bank robbery style novels. So crime, but probably from the criminal's perspective.
Ah,
Murder, murder mystery type stuff with lots of action in it. And probably some amount of smut alongside.
yeah, I was thinking similar, like a murder mystery, black and white type adventure book, or just a smutty romantic. Uh, yeah, I don't know if 20 Shades of Grey maybe, but yeah, yeah, something like that. It's what I have in my head, which to be honest, I need to get out of it. To be honest,
Oh,
so
I've just thought 50 Shades of Shacks. Oh no. And now that's just reminded me of that episode with the drills. And Mariner goes into like a Cerritos version of the Naked Now from TNG, and there's Shaq saying something like "It's naked time."
oh god,
Oh,
talking about Mariner.
yeah, that was a nice segue, wasn't it? Mariner's Arc.
Um,
Right, yes. So Mariner's Arc. We actually go right back to the start of the episode now. As Ben said at the beginning of this, there's very much two arcs which are sort of walked in parallel across the episode. Um, Mariner comes across. No, Mariner doesn't come across. It's Mariner and her mum together walking at the start, aren't they? Talking, and
yes,
then it's
yeah,
Ransom that walks out after having a particular incident with a new ensign, and he's very huffy. He's not happy, and it doesn't help. He's not able to do his usual exercises because his exercise things. You can tell I don't go to the gym, but his exercise thingies have been going missing. Um, so he's not in a good mood. And keep me honest, Ben, but Freeman basically says that the scenario with the orbs and the like the spheres and the cubes is too precarious. So you know what? Let's boot her off the ship because
yeah,
we don't have time for this mess around. And Mariner comes to Ensign Ollie's defense. Um, Let's stop for a moment. Is it Ollie, Ali, or Ollie? I have no
yeah.
idea.
I have a thing. Okay, I put Ali down in my description because that sounded like what Freeman was saying. I don't know if that's the American accents he was using and making it sound different to what it's written, but on the pad that Freeman had and what MDB say, it's Ollie, Olly, but I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, the way Freeman pronounced it, or whether that's her name, how they pronounce the name, and just spell it differently. I don't know. So,
Yes. I'm going to go with
um,
Ollie, which is kind of in between the two of them.
by the way, they're cowbells, um, which are like circular balls with like a handle on the top.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've seen those before. Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, Motherford, Mariner. I was thinking of Mother and what I don't know where I was going with that. Um, Mariner has seen something of herself in there and goes, "I want to help out. Let's come on, give me a chance.
Yeah,
Give her one more chance. No, after that accident. No, after that accident.
yeah, that was funny.
Um, yeah,
And yeah, it does look right away, doesn't it? Like Ensign Ollie very much is Mariner from sort of 5 seasons ago. Um, a little bit precarious, a little bit not really caring, a little bit gung ho. Let's just go for it and see what happens. Um, which is interesting. So I guess cut from there um, to what I'm going to call the murder scene. Mariner and Ollie are tasked with basically trying to get one of the orb's children, I think it is,
Yeah.
young adults, out of their room on the ship. And just to go explore and do something basically, and they force their way in because no one's answering to an absolute mess of a room, and it looks like
Teenagers room.
yeah, it looks like a teenager's room, but then you see all this, I don't know, energy plasma in the shape of a cube on the wall, and you think, and Ollie, and to be fair, my brain went there as well, but Ollie's basically like, that cube's been murdered. What does Taggart say? There's been a murder, or something like that. Um, that was terrible.
Been a while.
A
It's
very
been a
long
while since I've
time.
watched Taggart.
Yeah. And the originals are so much better than the newer ones. I mean, they were all good, but anyway, I digress again. Um, and yeah, I did think that Matt Mariner's kind of going, well, hold on, don't jump the gun. There could be any number of scenarios going on here, and that's when I'm kind of thinking it's not murder. Something else is happening here. um,
It's to be honest, actually, I went the opposite way around. It's like it's TNG era. It's that kind of thing you always have. It's not what it appears to be. Then the more they said, no, it's we've got to keep an open mind. The more I thought, oh, this is going to be a murder. So
yeah, they could have gone that way as well, but that's what I like. They kind of had us guessing through that, didn't they? Um, And just before they hunt down and decide to do the good cop, bad cop routine with this orb, this sphere, they're going through the gym and they open up a door, and out hovers this sphere with a towel. Like, he throws a towel around himself, all embarrassed because he's dull. There's no brightness to him. He's dulled down, and man was like, "Oh, hang on, is that like you naked?" And he's like, "Yes, it's like me naked." That was a funny little creative design twist that seems to apply to the cubes as well, which we find out later. Um, and then we move on to the good cop, bad cop routine, where we really see Ollie um, impersonating a lot more of the young mariner's behaviors. She's very emotional, very gung ho again, very, you know, in the sphere's face, accusing him or it or they, I don't know what the orb is, of
lemon.
he's got a male sounding voice of whatever well, of the murder basically. And Mariner has to pull her outside because she goes a bit too far.
Yeah, it's like yeah, come down a couple of notches. What's the problem? Um, and then they basically see trying to escape.
Yeah, it does. It tries to run. That's when I'm thinking you're guilty. Only guilty people run. Um,
Yeah,
he ends up flying into the conference room where Freeman is mid crazy negotiation with a whole host of spheres and cubes, so they lose him instantly, and it all falls apart from there, and the fighting ensues because Orly basically lets out that she's accusing one of the spheres of the murder, and then it's revealed that one of the cubes is also
it's,
missing, and at this point, I'm
and
like, right, a
yeah,
spear's
they're both
missing
together.
and a cube's missing. They're off doing the Romeo and Juliet, um, which obviously we find
Yeah,
out later on is the case. So that was the point I confirmed it. And you know what? Absolute credit to my wife, Erin. She clicked to the Romeo and Juliet scenario um, at the murder scene. nearly at the start of the episode, and because I was like, well, there's one of them's murdered the other, or yeah, I can kind of believe this or that, and Aaron actually went, yeah, or it's Romeo and Juliet, and the flipping cubes off with a sphere somewhere. I'm just like, you're so right, aren't you? And she was. So well done, Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah, well done. So we find them jumping a bit ahead of time, but they were on the holodeck, so presumably they couldn't, with all the energy going on, they couldn't work out the difference between a hologram and them. So
Yeah, quite lots of energy happening. But that whole scene in the conference room does spark a concern. I'm going to call it with a suspicion. That's the word I'm looking for. Suspicion with Mariner, because Ollie lets slip something around the melted screen. So they've been looking for this computer screen, and she says melted screen. No one knows it's melted. So right away, Mariner knows exactly what to do. She takes Ollie to Ollie's locker, and there, lo and behold, is the screen. But and we, for a split second, go, she did it, but she didn't. Next twist, she had, again, true Mariner style, gone to the room to meet Mariner instead of Mariner's old bunk to meet Mariner. Came across the scene, panicked, thinking that she'd get blamed for it, and decided to hide the screen instead and lie about it. So well done, Ollie.
yeah,
And I guess from there, you start to see a twist and a change in direction for Ollie as she starts redeeming herself.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, use your powers, which we haven't got onto yet, and
But we kind of went on to a pause a little bit, didn't we, with the Boimler arc? But yes, please go. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so
It's funny.
yeah, it is, and yeah, we find out she's one of the demigod species. Oh, that she's a demigod. Yeah, she's one of the god species, like from Apollo, which we saw Apollo, and it's who prays for no, who watches for Adonis or prays for Adonis. TOS episode. Um, it's been a long time since I watched it, so it's been a well, so I can't reference it too much, but it's one of those species. Um, then did we hear Minerva? Oh, no, not Minerva. Was it Minerva? Potentially was her mother. I'm not sure. When was
Potentially, I mean,
the
Zeus is her dad. That's much as sin. I'm trying to think back to Greek mythology
yeah
now. I can't remember. It might have
because
been Mars,
yeah,
but I'm not
I'm not
sure.
sure if Minerva is Greek or Roman, but okay, Roman is from Greek, but they let's change the names.
They just
But
tweaked it a
could
bit,
be
didn't they?
yeah, yeah. We found out Zeus's father, but then again, he's the father to practically everybody. To be honest,
He
in
got around.
yeah. Um, but yeah, he's from that, which is a nice reference for that episode. And yeah, she gives out. Yeah, and we found that from Bonner's thing. Yeah, she is almost Neptune in like giving out fireboats. And I know it's not Neptune. Is it
Zeus-like
Neptune?
lightning bolts.
Yeah,
She got it from
and
her dad.
yeah, but yeah, pretty limp is the honest truth.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, she tries to help out with that from that. And any thoughts?
She kind of succeeds for a moment, but then with the explosion of the energy, the orbs and the cubes, I keep calling them orbs, the spheres and the cubes all escape and turn into massive things and start attacking in space, and the Cerritos is between the whole lot of it. So it does kind of go south, and she does also stick a lightning bolt up Boimler's backside, which maybe he needed. Who knows? It helped him in the long run.
Probably,
Let's
yeah,
just say
definitely.
that. Pardon me, but the redemption does continue for her. She runs up to the bridge with Mariner. and pleads the case that she knows how to settle everything back down and save the day, and her plan works, which is lovely, which is what then turns the crew around in terms of their impressions of her. Freeman admits that she had the wrong end of the stick about her, and that Mariner was to thank for being the only one who wanted to try and help show people that there was more to Ollie. And then, of course, in true style, as has happened to Mariner so often in the past, well, one gives her the good news that she'll be joining engineering because she is an engineer born and raised, and that's what she's good at. But then subsequently sends her to the brig for the night because of her lying and her deceit and the trashing everything and all that good stuff.
Well deserved.
Very well deserved. And you get to see more of the young Mariner in Orly again at the end of the episode when she's in the brig, saying a lot of the same things that we've heard Mariner say in the past. Mariner sitting there like, "Oh no, I'm staying here. I'm going to learn all about you," and she's like, "I don't share personal feelings." Um, and yeah, it was a lovely, funny, light-hearted way to end the episode, I thought, and it does leave me wondering if we're going to see more of Orly moving forwards or not too. She was an interesting character. I just don't think we need another Mariner running around the show, or the ship, I should say. Not at least to that extent that we got in this episode. I think this was a great episode to explore Orly as a character a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing her in the background every now and then again, a bit like Jet.
Yeah.
But personally, I like we've only got a few episodes left, I think, of season 5, so I can't see them using her much more than what they did there, which tells me, in summary of my review of this episode from the Mariner point, this felt to me very much like the show really highlighting and emphasizing just how far Mariner has come in the last 5 seasons. I feel like this is the start of rounding Mariner's character off, which is both very lovely and a little bit sad.
It is. It is. Um, I think no, you mentioned last week, but this again doesn't seem to be mentioning it, bringing the overarching plot. But I think these are the middle episodes where it's like gives us a bit of a break. But yeah, again, see Mariner's arc rounding off. It's almost as if again with the every with two of the other characters, Boimler and Rutherford, that they are almost starting a new arc for them, to be honest. But
It's almost
I
like they're
think it's
going
a
down the
way,
rabbit hole.
yeah. But I think that's a way of taking them away from that arc that they have been on practically since episode 1, season 1, and going, let's set them up to the potential to failure here, and then bring them back from the edge. Uh, whereas Mariner was always on the edge. And as for Tindy, I think she is there. She's just got to be the one to uh, help them all confirm there.
Hendy
She's there to
is
control that.
Sorry. Tendi is very well rounded in herself. Um, a lot of her development came in the previous season and going into the start of this season, I think. So if there's a sense if there's a more sensible character out of the lower deckers who can help try and keep everything running smooth and stable, I'd say it was Tendi. Although in
Yeah,
saying
and I
that,
think that's
Mariner is kind of turning that way too now. And I
yeah.
think
But I,
Rutherford and Boimler are going to need them very, very soon because they're going down into a very bad place.
yeah. And yeah, I think that's going to be 10 days thing as a lower decker to put her up the levels of command, to make it not make her a lower decker anymore, is to make her, she is the one to organize, she is the one in charge, like she is for the winter constellation.
So
Uh,
if any of them are making captain first, it's Tendi, 100%.
yeah, definitely. And I'm interested where this, how they're going to wrap this up now. This has got to the stage in the season where it's like me going, how are they going?
Yeah, where's it headed? What direction are they taking this? Yeah, 2 episodes of not really any progress on the overarching plot. Aye, it's if there is one thing I would say, I'd
Leaving
agree
up
with
for a
you
big
there.
finish here.
It's I can't see where this is going, which is a good thing. It's going to keep us on our toes as we go into next week. Um, so yeah, it's again, I guess to round everything off, it was a very fun episode again, as the Lower Decks episodes always are. Great to see Rutherford, Boimler, and but both of them being sort of fleshed out a little bit more, and actually their character development being disrupted. Especially Boimler's. But Boimler's just self sabotaging on steroids now. But he's starting to take Rutherford down with him. Tendi didn't have too much to do in this episode, but where she was in it, it was super sweet, super cute, as always, Tendi is. As I say, she seems the more sensible one right now. And that's one thing I would say to Lynn, who has been such a core part of the Lower Decker group for the tail end of
Being
last
left out.
season and much of this season. I think I only remember seeing her in maybe one scene this episode, which is a real shame.
Yeah,
I felt like I was actually missing her in this episode. She could have brought something more to it, perhaps, but maybe there was just too much already going on.
agreed. Bringing her back for this episode made me want her more because I was like, oh, Tynnon's gone. But as you wrapped it up in a circle, I'm gonna or rounded it up. I'm gonna wrap it up in its box and
Hmm.
sphere and say I love this, like this episode. Hopefully it
Yep.
goes well. Hope you like this and thank you for watching. You can follow us in the from the information below and Olympus and may live long and prosper, I suppose. And see you next week.
Live long and prosper.